And we're live. And Doc didn't mock my counting skills today, so I'll call this as
No,
a
I was
win.
busy. I was busy doing important things.
Wait, you're not a. Do you need crayons? Is that the problem with the counting?
No, I
No,
wasn't a
because
Marine.
he was infantry.
Oh, well. Okay. Did you take your boots off?
Sometimes I do, but we didn't get that high because, we just do a 3 count. So we're good. I don't even have to get my second glove on. So, hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans, it's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just 3 nerdy veterans geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. The podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. Without further ado, we are going to let our guest, Mr. William Joseph Roberts, introduce himself to our listeners and viewers.
Hey, everybody. I'm William Joseph Roberts. Most people call me Hillbilly. Yeah, I write pretty much anything that the evil mind squirrels demand. Sci-fi, fantasy, horror, and post-apocalyptic, all kinds of different crap.
Another genre fluid writer.
I like the fluidity. What?
I said, no wonder he's friends with you.
Flexibility is key in life, man.
Said no Grunt ever. All right. So the next part of the introduction, dear listener, is not the mindless shenanigans of Doc. It is not her bad attempt at philosophical wanderings and musings, because she's not drunk enough for that yet.
I got an A in philosophy of religion. Thank you.
She's going to hurt you.
The second time.
One day.
You might like it.
Last time we met, she just called me short the whole time, but it's okay. So the next part of the introduction. Dude, 5'9" is not short. I'm well within average. All right.
Yes, you are.
You're
shorter than every male and female in my family.
Just say yes, ma'am, and move on.
All right. So you're fired, Doc. You want a job, William? I fire her all the time, and she never goes anywhere.
That's because your mom likes me better than you.
But that's cheating, though. That's just not fair. Right? Can't pull the mom card.
JR, you wouldn't be able to figure out how to count without me.
This is probably true. So instead, we'll talk about how we first found Mr. William Joseph Roberts. So I think I made contact with him through Doc, but I'm not sure. We've been internet buds for a while, so I can't remember. We
chatted back and forth multiple times on the internet. I mean,
I don't remember when we weren't talking on Facebook and all this stuff.
It's been a while.
We'll blame insert current thing here, and we'll just move on. But Doc, I'm assuming your story involves a bar or 10, because they always do.
Yes, we met at LibertyCon, which is an amazing convention if you really love books to completely go to.
I thought it was
everybody there. What?
I thought the booze convention, they actually talk about books while they're drinking?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So book and booze.
And I supply mead for the bar every year.
I know. I pour your mead every year.
Except for this year, because they got limitations. But that's okay, because I'm having a room party.
I was going to say, I have a room you can store it in.
Oh, no. I'm having
you get any
I
of
get
it?
to have a room party after my mead panel and my fermentation panel that I'm putting on. So it's all good.
I've tried mead once before the Grape and Gourmet went out of business, because they served all the specialty drinks. And I got one that was so dry, it was just gross. And I haven't tried others, but I'm told, much like finding a good beer, mead is a brand specific taste, not generic.
Yeah. Billy, if you need help with that panel. I brewed more hard ciders than I did meads, but
come on, join in.
So,
but okay. Quick JR, real quick side tangent. You want the stupid easy? Try your own at the house. Take a milk jug, clean it out real good. 4 pounds of honey. You get Lavalin EC 1118 champagne yeast. Pitch that in there. Top the water up. That little shoulder on the milk jug where it starts to do that. Put the water right at the bottom of that. Put a balloon, rubber band, pinhole in the balloon. Now that balloon's going to go whoop. And when the balloon goes bloop, you're done. You got 40 proof hooch ready to drink.
I'm going to write that down when the show's over, and we might try that.
Yeah.
See. Got to do it before honey gets even more expensive.
You put it up on your counter, man, and you're going to, as soon as that balloon goes up, carbon dioxide's being off-gassed, and it'll keep that thing rolling. At the end of that, you're going to have sweet 40 proof hooch. That's my standard sack mead.
All right, I'm going to try that. So if you want to try that at home, dear listener, let us know how it tastes. If you do a taste testing on air, send us the links. We'll share it and talk about all the shenanigans in our Facebook group.
Yeah, I know.
We'll add a
Hey.
subthread of mead for all you.
Have you been down to the Savannah Brewers League?
No.
They hold one of the longest running mead competitions in the world.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Followed by an oyster roast. I was a judge for one. It was amazing.
The oysters
much
or the
fun.
mead?
Yes.
I never got into oysters. They just ugh.
Dude, I got to be drunk I was drunk by like 8.
So was your average Tuesday. Okay.
a.m. It was even better than an average Tuesday.
Fair. All right. So did you, in fact, meet him at the LibertyCon bar, or did you meet him somewhere else?
No, we did meet at the LibertyCon bar.
Okay. Now, William, this is a sci-fi shenanigans tradition that we brought over when we became the Blasters and Blades, and we just expanded it because, we're polytheistic, but you get to answer the religion questions. So, Doc, let's see if he gets to stick around.
He gets to stick around because he brought the mead. Star Wars, Star Trek. I'm sorry. I knew I was forgetting to give you something.
Okay.
Star Wars, Star Trek, or Firefly?
Absolutely Star Trek, but dear God, I need more Firefly. I mean, they were idiots for cutting it off where they did. And honestly, what we're going to be talking about tonight has a lot of influence with Firefly.
That is fair. I do think it is like the world's most loved miniseries, essentially.
Star Wars, it's more the epic fantasy storytelling. I like Star Trek for the tech. And, they hand wave him a lot of crap, but they go about it in such a way they're trying to explain how this works. And it's just.
Star Trek really is sci-fi because it is about the tech.
Yes, it is.
And Star Wars is sci-fi fantasy.
Yeah, it's space fantasy, straight up. Now Firefly, Firefly appeals to my favorite kind of characters, where you've got the average Joe that has to get through whatever situation, and they're beat down, they're damaged, they're screwed up in the head, but they still keep pressing on, trying to make.
My favorite quote is always about the chain of command.
Yes.
That in I think it came from Firefly, the beatings will continue until morale improves.
Oh no, that came from way before that.
I don't know,
Firefly,
but I know my mother sat there and one of my drill sergeants said it. My mom goes, "Oh, do they know that you have the shirt? You really love that." And I'm like, "Shut up, Mom! Shut up!"
No,
My mother hated me.
So the quote about leadership from Firefly was, "I know what the chain of command is. It's the chain I go get and beat you with till you understand who's in command here."
Yep, and that's in the scene where Kaylee is in the med bay and she's hurt, and was it Jane's in charge at that point, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he didn't have his hat on for that scene. I felt disappointed.
Where was Mal? That God, it's been a while. Okay, I need to go back.
It's been a while, but I just remember the command, that quote, because I've used it before. Maybe don't tell the colonel that, by the way. Just throwing that out there for all you lower enlisted people. Doesn't go well. Just saying, I got to get away with it because there's a war zone and you can get away with a little bit of shenanigans when you're, dodging bullets and stuff. But
it's only war crime if you call it, right?
Right. It's not a war crime the first time. But I wish I could take credit for that one, but I stole that from the fat electrician who does all these military.
Oh my God, dude. He is so awesome. I love his videos. I've been trying to get him to do a crew dog one, but he hasn't done one yet.
He's hilarious. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that.
Religion, because that's a less fraught topic.
Welcome to my mind swirls.
So, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, or The Wheel of Time?
I can't say anything about Game of Thrones because I haven't watched it or read any of it. Lord of the Rings, absolutely read that. Silmarillion, Hobbit, all that back in like junior high, and the movies were amazing. Wheel of Time.
A lot of walking.
God, I left off on like book 10, I think, way back in the
you got 10 farther than I did.
It was good, but looking back, I'm like, how the hell did he get away with all this exposition at the start of it? I mean, it's like the Eye of the World is And
Because
John
there's a
beget
certain writing
James
style.
and-
It's like, why does David Weber get away with so much ad nauseum about tech and missiles?
Yeah, but the first half of Eye of the World is like reading the Bible. How did he get away with it?
There are some people who like that.
Yeah.
All kinds.
I mean, at the time, I was reading it. It's like, okay, cool. It'll get better. It'll get better. And, nothing against David. Love David's writing. But I skipped the physics lesson.
Yes.
I just tell him waves of missiles.
Yeah.
He laughs at me.
But, there's some people that dig that. That's just like, Anne Rice. The ex-wife tried to get me to read Anne Rice. And when I got to that part where it was like a page and a half to describe a freaking chair, I'm like, okay, I'm done. Give me my Conan novel. I'm going back to Sword and Sorcery, and it's okay. And go through and break, and then he gets a chick.
So, but it is, there's something for everybody within science fiction and fantasy, and that's one of the things that's great, and with how stories are told.
Yeah.
So, but which one is your favorite? I mean, we do have a favorite child, I'm sure. Is it sci-fi or is it fantasy?
I'm tied between the both of them. I mean, I love fantasy. I love epic fantasy, Sword and Sorcery, especially because I cut my teeth on Robert Howard. I mean, all the original Conan novels, Cull, Solomon Kane, all that stuff. But, sci-fi's got its own appeal. I mean, I'm a tech nerd. I like getting into the science of how things work, but I don't want 3 pages of how it works, Give me just enough to, okay, cool, that's plausible. Moving on. But I like to have that proof of how it works. Proof of concept, I guess.
Okay.
Not just hand wave him. Oh, wait, we got hyperspace. Cool. Here we go. At least with Star Trek, you understand how the warp drive's supposed to work.
So your literary love is a triad, but which one was your first love? Was it the sci-fi? Was it the fantasy?
Well, the first love would be fantasy. I mean, Robert Howard, Conan.
Yeah.
Fell in love with Sword and Sorcery. Started out with the comics, found the magazines, Savage Sword of Conan, and progressed up to the novels when I finally found them. But growing up in Southern West Virginia, it wasn't easy.
So this is one of the beauties of this question, because if you interview the same author and you put a couple days between the interview for the first love, they'll always get a different answer because your mind doesn't always remember. So mine changes all the time. So I would have thought you might have said something like the old Last Unicorn or the Hobbit cartoon that was made in the 70s in that Doc, calm yourself.
Your first love changes all the time? You are brain damaged.
Well, he's Army, so, we got to give him that much.
Look, JR won. All right, I beat 27 IEDs. Can you say you did that? I don't think so.
No, but I was smarter than to try and catch 27 IEDs.
Look, all right, they promised me it was a 2-for-1 special. It was supposed to be on
and yet
sale.
you still ended up with an odd number.
It's because he's special, right?
Apparently, they did infantry math. Anyway, are you got it out of your system now, Doc? You gonna be okay to finish the interview?
Don't make her spit or drink on the computer. Then she's really going to hurt you.
She will be very mad at me if I make her waste her booze. All right. So,
don't waste food in my family.
So what was your... Oh, you already answered that one. You did say it was the Conan novels. Okay,
Yeah.
Doc, keep going.
So what is your first memory engaging in the speculative fiction genre? Is it watching, reading, playing games?
That would be watching. I mean, Star Trek, original series. When Next Generation kicked over, I was watching it. But before then, you had Land of the Giants. Lost in Space was a decent one.
Land of the Giants. Oh my God, that was.
I loved Land of the Giants. I mean, it spiraled the thought patterns way off out there of what could be. Was it Tripods? Used to catch that on PBS. You go back and watch that now. It's absolutely horrible, but it's a great alien invasion setup.
I've never saw that one.
It was bad BBC. It was worse than Tom Baker Doctor Who episodes, but it was still BBC.
That was really bad.
used to watch Tom Baker on PBS back in the day. My first sci-fi that I really read, I think, was Berserker Kill. Fred Saberhagen picked it up in the library at school. I was that kid that didn't go out to recess. I went to the library. Even in grade school, they'd let me go and wander around in the library. But I was also that kid that whoever's computer in one of the schoolrooms in grade school, they'd call me to come fix it.
So
I was that nerd.
So given that they call you hillbilly and that you're from West Virginia, did you get the experience of the Scholastic book fairs when you were in elementary school?
Yes, absolutely. And I never could buy anything because I didn't have the cash for it.
That was our crack back then with all the cool imaginations. Although the one thing that I never got explained is what the purpose of the holodeck was in Star Trek other than side quests when they ran out of ideas.
Well,
it's supposed to be a morale booster, and then they use it for.
Well,
we're not going to have this discussion tonight.
But Cheers was a holodeck simulation.
Because I'm too sober for your stupidity, JR.
Did you ever see that? Cheers is actually a holodeck simulation because Kate Mulgrew, Brent Spiner, Beverly Crusher, Gates McFadden. There were more than a few that had been on Cheers. And somebody put together a meme. It's like, well, Cheers was actually a holodeck program.
Interesting. I would have done completely different things with a holodeck. But,
JR, this is a family-friendly show, young man.
Well, I was talking about killing dragons. What were you talking about?
Killing dragons.
Okay. It's going to be that kind of show.
You're just now figuring this out.
Have you had enough mead to make that as a good excuse?
No.
All right, Doc. Did you ask him what he loves about speculative fiction yet?
I was going to, but why don't you, since you're so eager?
Well, I don't want to steal your questions like you do for me.
You know
do you
what,
want to
JR,
ask him?
I understand. This is as close as you're getting to our first date.
You two or something was like, you guys are all over the place tonight, but I'm always all over the place, so it's okay,
Oh, look, squirrel.
Shiny. Hey, this is cool. Look at that. Wow. Oh, wait, what about that one? Oh, it's even better.
That's how I describe people who ask what it's like to have a TBI. It's like going to bed normal and waking up with severe ADHD because your mind just goes all over the place. I've got a medical excuse. What's yours, Doc?
I have a medical diagnosis, so what's yours?
Okay, we'll call that a tie, and we'll ask him instead what you love about speculative fiction as a genre.
Really that it makes you start to think. You dig into some of the tech. You get into any of the speculative fiction. If it doesn't describe it well enough, if you're curious enough, you'll go and start digging into it and learning about it and researching it. You start to get into new ideas and concepts. What was it? Sam Gunn series by Ben Bova. Beautiful series. And the guy's just a good used car salesman, but he comes up with all these different ideas. And surprisingly enough, a lot of Ben Bova's ideas have started to come to fruition, which is amazing. I don't know, the possibility of what gets written can come true. That's one of the most beautiful parts of it. And well, hell, we all know sci-fi inspires so much, especially when it comes down to technology. If it wasn't for science fiction and Star Trek, we wouldn't have these things. If it wasn't for science fiction and Star Trek, we wouldn't have a lot of the crap that we have. Look at the tablets. Next Generation, what did they have? They had freaking tablets.
That is why Star Trek is better than Star Wars.
It inspires. It inspires new generations to do things.
Okay, that is an acceptable.
We can now tell when Nick's listened to the episode.
Why is that?
Because I just declared this is why Star Trek is better than Star Wars. It has pushed us to be better and advance our technology.
I mean, But we've got Chewbacca
Dude,
and Yoda.
I have a
Hello?
very hairy brother who
Who
doesn't look like Chewbacca, but I've seen some people who naturally look like Chewbacca.
But that's just Bigfoot and a goblin. They're, well,
Right.
you know, they're
I'll
badass,
just make sure to send them a copy of this episode and be like, oh, your sister's talking about you again. But so how did your love of speculative fiction as a genre transition into deciding to write stories in this space?
That one's tough. I mean, I've always wrote stories. I mean, even in grade school, I was writing these little short stories. I mean, they were flash fiction at that time that didn't make a lot of sense if I'd go back and look at them now. But trying to tell a story using the concepts and settings, you know, not so much to teach anything or open anybody's eyes, but just to share the fun adventure of where you could go with it.
Okay.
We're going.
So many authors let their own real life experiences influence the stories they tell. So were there any specific formidable moments for you that shaped you as a storyteller? Was it the sound of the dueling banjos that scared you into writing, or what's the story there?
He did hold back on the banjos. Wow. Okay. Not really. I mean, you know, I never went to cons or anything like that before I really got into writing, trying to do it professionally. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know on that one.
Okay. All right, so then we'll move right along. So speaking of the military, since we've talked about that a little bit, your bio mentions that you served in the U.S. Air Force. So we ask all of our authors who are also military veterans this question, but how do you feel like your time as a Zoomie affects the stories you tell?
The stories get real screwed up when it comes down to the interpersonal reactions of the characters a lot of times. You know, I'm ex-flatline, so things were pretty screwed up. We played practical jokes. We worked hard and we played hard. So that gets translated into it. I mean, Flux Runners is basically a bunch of crew chiefs in space. You know, they're a dysfunctional family at best, but
So a unit.
Yeah, they're a unit, but you know they're dysfunctional as all get out. But mess with them and they'll cut your throat. You know. But yeah, with it, I was pulling a lot from Firefly. I wanted to pull that close knit structure. I wanted to pull that family tie together. Which any military unit, you get your crew, your shift together, and you've got a good tight crew. Everybody's got each other's back. And you bicker and squabble between each other, just like brothers and sisters. But in the end, you've got each other's back. And that's one of the things that I put into Flux Runners, which was my first novel.
Okay. So do you ever draw on people you knew while you were in the military?
Oh, God, yes, absolutely. All the time.
Do they know about it yet?
A lot of them, yeah.
Okay, because sometimes if you didn't like the person, you don't tell them that you drew on them, obviously.
I haven't done any of those yet.
Yet. I noticed the yet. Doc,
Yeah.
were you taking
I
notes?
have. I put in one short story, and that's how I started it.
Yeah.
JR told me I could kill people with impunity.
This
It
is true.
seemed like a good idea at the time.
Has she been drinking your mead? Is that her excuse?
What do you got?
I have a berry margarita.
Oh, okay.
All right. So
normally I have some Viking Alchemist mead, but I've been a little too busy to go overstock. What?
We ought to get them to sponsor us. We talk about them all the time.
That's because they're my favorite mead place in Georgia.
And they can just pay us in the booze. Like, we don't even need money. Just give us a few, like, you know.
Oh, wait. Am I supposed to then send it to you?
Yeah, obviously.
It'd never make it there. Come on.
Right? It got broken in shipping. I don't know what happened, JR. Checks in the mail. So we talked we talked a little bit about how your time in the Air Force affects the way you create content, but let's talk about it a little bit as we switch to the reader side. Do you think your time in the Air Force affects the way you engage with content as a reader or a viewer?
Maybe. I mean, I read everything I could when I could. I mean, when I was home growing up, I read a lot. I mean, I was the kid that stayed up late at night. But we on the flight line, it was anything before 12 was a cutback. So we were working. Deployments probably was the time that I got to read the most because we'd send the jets out. They'd go up for 12 hours, come back. A lot of downtime in between there. Just a lot of time chilling the rack. Dragonlance Chronicles. That was one that always stuck with me because that's what got me through the first deployment. And I've been able to actually talk to Margaret since and thank her for writing it because it got me through a deployment. I've probably read the entire series like 4 times that trip.
So that was a little bit different. I never had time on my deployments to actually read. Although I guess what got us through our deployment were AT&T phone cards. We probably bought the CEOs at AT&T like extra mansions with the amount of money we donated to the cause to call home.
And that's one thing with working flatline. We were working E-models on my first couple of deployments, and they'd go up for 12 hours. So you'd launch them, you might recover them, or next shift is going to recover them. So there's a lot of downtime. Now, if there's something broke, everybody's jamming and getting it done. But otherwise, you're just kind of stuck there waiting in case something needs done.
Yeah. So what?
See, I was a medic, which meant we just waited for people to hurt themselves or worse.
Oh, you mean like JR?
It happens. Yeah.
No, JR started that way.
This is also true. I did lots of dumb things. Hey, y'all, watch this. So when you deployed, what kind of jets were you on? Was it the C-130? Was it the fighter jets? The
F-15Es and F-15Cs when I stationed over in Okinawa.
Okay. So if I got any of the flight lingo wrong, we're just going to send the hate mail to Doc Cisca because I really know nothing about fighters. Like I couldn't tell you a helicopter from a jet unless you told me. So it's all good.
I believe that you are that defective.
It goes zoom. It's okay.
Yeah. As long as I keep my booger finger off the bang stick, I'm good.
I'm going to tell Casey when she comes back from Japan.
She'll be too busy dropping Moabs on Mark Wandry, so we'll be okay. So, all right, let's I'll tell you that story offline. Let's do the fandom question.
We're going to tell you that story offline because JR has told it way too many times on air.
Okay.
Yeah, they've heard it a dozen times.
So, getting into some of the fan angles, have you had any cool fan art or somebody cosplay one of your characters yet?
Not yet. That would be cool. The closest thing to anything like that I've gotten is some private messages on Facebook. After my book Wildcat came out through Chris Kennedy Publishing, it's part of the Fallen World universe. I got a couple of people that emailed me thanking me for how raw it was. There was a few spots in there that I really have a hard time going back and even reading. But it was dealing with like suicide, stuff like that. And I got a couple of thank yous. And
it can be important to deal with some of those harder issues.
Yeah. And,
especially for bookworms, because we don't want to talk to people. I go to therapy. Therapy involves talking to a person. Though, seriously, if you need it, do go.
I understand method actors now because of where I put myself to write those scenes. Yeah, it's not cool. I don't want to go back there.
I write those scenes so I don't put myself there. I have the opposite reaction. The writing is how I find sanity. So I get it to a point.
Yeah.
So if somebody wanted to make some cool fan art and do some cosplay, they can send your email, which we will link in the show notes, your contact information. And if you do that, people, and you don't mind him sharing, maybe he can put that out to the newsletter, and you can link to that as well on your website.
Absolutely.
And you can share that kind of stuff.
I'd share that all over the place because I'm an internet whore.
Well, never mind. I better share.
Don't die,
right, Hey, I have no problem with it. You know your value. You get your value. That is a key part of self-worth.
Absolutely.
I'm just gonna. All right, Doc. Fandom question.
Has anyone ever asked for your autograph?
Yes.
And what was it like to sign that book the first time? What was your first time like?
Strange. I mean, it's just like you what?
Go on. Insert heavy breathing.
What? It took me a couple minutes to realize they really actually wanted it, and I'm like, oh, okay. And they had bought it. They had bought my book offline, and this was in the office where I work. They had bought it offline, brought it over to my cubicle. It's like, can you sign this? Wait, did you just take that out of my pile over here? And, I'm looking to see if they stole a book out of my pile because I had some there, but no, they had bought it online and come over and wanted it signed. Like that's strange and cool. Okay, sure.
That's
cool.
Awesome.
So, have you spotted someone reading one of your books out in the wild?
Yes. Another person in the office was the first one that I spotted. I've had pictures sent of others here and there, and it's surreal.
So, what funny, weird fan interaction would you be willing to tell us about?
Okay, the best fan interaction would actually be sitting down and talking through some of the scenes with the crew of the Betty, which are in the Flux, or it's in this one, because
hold on, hold that back up. I will give you solo layout so they can see.
Okay,
it.
So Flux Runners was my first novel. All the characters in there, with the exception of like 2 or 3, are Tuckerized. And so Maggie's sitting back here. Doug and Krista's down the street. So is Mel and Liz. And just sitting around talking.
Wait, is that Mel my Mel?
No, my Mel. So we're sitting around talking.
Do you share a Mel? Is that what's going on?
No, we don't share. Well, we do share a Mel, but that's different. Sharing is caring, man. Sharing is caring. Remember that. But we're sitting around, we're talking, and they had read it, and we're like comparing notes and stuff like that. So seeing their reactions and talking about the scenes and just the giggle snorts, and it's like, what the hell were you thinking here? I don't know. It was funny, and just that was fun because not only were they the characters, they were like my first fans.
That is awesome. And this is why you don't put 3 veterans in a room together, because shenanigans will happen.
I don't know what you're talking about. But can you give us the highlight reel of all things the amazing hillbilly William Joseph Roberts?
Oh, God. Okay. So
all things that people can buy.
Okay. I have 4 novels currently out. So Flux Runners, Widowmakers, which is the first book or first novel in the JTF 13 universe. Wildcat, Foreclosure of a Dream, which is part of the Fallen World universe, and Smuggler's Run, which was co-authored with Chris Woods. That is the best explanation is the Dukes of Hazzard and Spaceballs had a love child while wrapped in all that is the 80s, and you get Smuggler's Run. It's god-awful, horrible B-rate sci-fi, but we loved it. And then I am in so many anthologies, and I'm creating more anthologies thanks to Three Ravens. Which one of the most popular here lately has been the It Came from the Trailer Park anthology we released back on Halloween. Cheesy B-rate creature feature horror, man, and people love it. So we're doing another volume.
Okay. So while those all sound fascinating, today we're going to talk about Flux Runners. So where did you get the premise for this universe? Was it psychedelics, Ouija boards, spoiled mead?
Too much damn video games. See, okay, so Flux Runners, the original idea of it, actually got spurred from this video game from the 80s called Starflight, which I subsequently ended up getting into contact with the IP holder, and I got to write in that universe now.
I was going to ask you if you did that.
Yeah, that was my antho, and
you ran it?
Yeah, that's on
Cool.
Three Ravens, and I have to write the first novel this year too. So, but yeah, because of Starflight, it inspired a lot of what the main transition element in the novel is, which is going through these flux points, and pulling from that adventure that I had in the game, because you got tossed out into the universe with very little information. It's like, okay, well, go out there and figure out what's going on, and then come back and tell us, but try not to get killed. So, that seat of the pants, what's going on? As soon as you'd run into like an alien being, you'd have this, scanners, or the detection scanners would go off saying there's an unidentified object. And next thing you know, you got aliens shooting at you and crap. So you're trying to run, or you start fighting if you got enough weapons. And, it was always seat of your pants. So I was trying to keep that same feel and vibe, because these guys, they get tossed over to the other end of the galaxy with no idea where they're at, how they're going to get back, or how they're going to survive. So it's a constant, it's a constant seat of your pants trying to survive,
One of my favorite animes is like that.
Okay. And Doc therapy begins again. But while we let her come off of that horrible transition, we're going to pause a moment while we shamelessly shill for the man. So stick with us for a second.
In a world where magic is controlled by law and government, mages are both coddled and persecuted. Corey Monroe knows she isn't a mage, and her best friend is. Reality isn't always what you know. If you are looking for an urban fantasy with found family, an education-based magic system, and evolving storylines, try My Luck by Mel Todd, book 1 in the Twisted Luck series. Available exclusively on Amazon.
All right. Thank you. Oh, he brought the booze. So thank you for sticking with us through that.
No. Wait. Shake it. Show the booze again. Yep. See, and you can tell the ABV in part by the bubbles.
This one's probably only about 60.
Okay. Well, now that we've boozed out for a little bit, while he drinks, I would like to thank you for sticking with us through that commercial interlude, and we appreciate that you did. But now let's get back to talking about Flux Runners. He just told us where he got the idea. It was a fever dream when he drank some bad mead. No, okay, he played a video game when he was a kid. But now we are going to take a second where I'm going to share the cover, and you're going to tell us where this modern art piece came from. So,
the excuse of video games really is pretty much any adult now, except for me. I didn't play video games.
Well, the Betty, which is in the background, blowing the crap out of the red there. The ship itself is inspired by the game from Starflight. Brendan Smith is the one that created this, and he created the second cover, which was it 2020? Yeah. He got it done, the cover for book 2 in August of 2020, and unfortunately he passed away by the end of the month from an aneurysm. So and the second cover didn't get completely finished. So I'm going to end up rebranding or doing a new cover using the same kind of elements, but I got to keep the art similar. So had to find a new artist.
So at a certain point in time, if you have this cover, then it will be a collector's item. So go buy a paperback while you've got some time, and before paper costs you more than your college degree will.
Or hardback, because I got him in hardback too. Yeah.
Well, there you go. So
fancy.
It'll be collector's items soon. And the art is, I'm going to assume Doc likes it, because when you're colorblind, that just looks all the same to me.
I do like it. You could always ask me instead of just assuming.
What fun would that be?
The non-stabby kind. So, but what would your 30-second elevator pitch for this novel be?
I was actually thinking about this earlier. I didn't have one. I got it for like all the other ones, but I really didn't have one for this. And if you love Firefly and you love the dysfunctional family, We'll take them and throw them into the far reaches of the galaxy with no support and see how they make it.
Wasn't that the whole
Okay,
plot of
that
Voyager?
works.
Isn't that the whole plot of Voyager?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. So,
So real quick, I'm going to interrupt with a question that's not on the outline. So what's the story of the odd capitalization of the lowercase f with the Flux Runners?
Oh, okay. So, and that carries on with all the chapters too. And actually, I have warning labels in there too. See, I do. Working in engineering, I usually work in all caps doing drawings and stuff like that for fabrication drawings. So going and typing Flux Runners, I was going to capitalize. So I hit the shift, hit the F, keep on typing. And it's like, that looks odd, but it looks kind of good. So I continued that. And each chapter it starts with a lowercase c and capital letters otherwise. Just because it's just one of those little flukes. I'm like, what the hell? Why not? It's odd.
Okay.
It stands out, you know.
It certainly got me to ask questions. Hold on, let me give you solo again. Give me a second.
JR, do I need to help you? I don't want to see you on solo.
No, it's not working. I'd have to get rid of the cover. So hold on, give me a second. Now I'm going to give you solo.
Hit the button, JR. Hit the button.
I'm hitting the button. It's not working. Dang it, Doc, you're hitting buttons too. All right, you know what, Doc? You're fired. So we'll just show the. You done?
No. I don't want to see your mug.
You're going to make her puke.
All right, now, Doc, stop. You're going to give people like an aneurysm or something. All right, now let's. Oh, that's a bad joke given. Oh, I'm sorry.
Way to go, JR. How to put foot in mouth.
I don't know if you can read those very well.
We can. Okay. Warning labels. Okay,
yes, I have warning labels for the opening.
That is awesome.
And me and Brandon, we had went through these and talked through a bunch of it. What would be good? And really, this is space opera. It's sci-fi, but it's also B-rate comedy. I mean, and fuck is used a lot. Just fair warning. But it's a bunch of dysfunctional crew chiefs basically running around in space trying to make ends meet. You know, they're miners. They're asteroid miners. They do whatever they can to make an extra buck on the side just to make ends meet because all the corporations have everything tied up. And the lone independent, they're just trying to get along. But let's see. Okay, one of it. Violence. Aliens plus pew-pews will always equal violence of some kind plus some good old-fashioned torment. Sex. Humans go to space. Humans meet aliens. What the hell do you think is going to happen next? Remember, Kirk was the first man whore in space. Profanity. Let's face it. These guys are space miners. They cuss a lot. And, it just goes down through their different things. Use of duct tape. Or let's see, redneck engineering contains probably way too many hold my beer moments and uses of duct tape. So, from the get-go, there's nothing serious about this book. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to entertain you. Now, there's a nice little twist to it, which I'm not going to spoil it or give any of that away. You'll have to read it to see the screwed up twist that I set up for. Well, actually, see, book three or four, you'll find out all the details of what's going on. And by book 6, shit hits the fan and it gets real.
So the stickers, I guess Doc's not reading the side comments today. So the warning labels, is that something you sell as merch, like as a sticker or something for your fans?
No, but now that you mentioned, I probably should.
Or put it on a t-shirt or something?
We probably use it for JR. But wait.
Doc, stop. Come on.
Ah! I'm extra special tonight.
This is what happens when you drink the 80 proof for Doc. She's a lightweight.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look into that. I've never thought about doing the warning labels as merch. That's okay. Yeah, cool.
I think it's a great idea. Now that I fixed JR, can you tell us? You've told us some about what makes it such a special series, but what tropes do you feel Flux Runners really hits best or plays with? Before JR figures out how to unmute himself.
Wait, did you muted JR? You're going to give him issues. Wait, what are you doing, Cisca?
He already has issues.
Okay, what tropes? Okay, so standard screwed up pranks. I got space Nazis. I do have that in there because they take over. They take over Mars. But the worst part is, the original guy that founded the Mars colony, his name is Sadowitz, who is Jewish, who fell in love with the way that Hitler spoke and his oration abilities, and started to try to be like that. But then it kind of took a side tangent, and we got the new Martian Reich. Yeah, so space Nazis. Wait, why are there two of you now? Did you just try to bypass so she can't screw with one of you?
I broke JR so badly he doubled.
Whatever she did froze my computer screen and then it restarted, and I have no idea what she did. It's just that kind of episode, people.
Blame the mind squirrels, man. Blame the mind squirrels. I blame them for everything.
Of course, people are going to listen to this and think it was all a skit, and we did it that way on purpose. All right, continue. Pretend I didn't just disappear and come back and keep talking.
No, you didn't ever disappear. You just duplicated.
I don't know. Chaos. Chaos is one thing that is all throughout. Something is always changing and causing new situations to be work. What question are we on? You've already lost track of where you're at. Come on, dude. Get with the program here. The doc's drunk and she's got it.
I mean, I was kicked off the show for a while, so I don't know.
I never kicked you off. I just muted you.
Doc kicked me off the show.
Technically, they're different.
Well, I mean, it is if you're sober enough to hit the right button.
I just muted it.
I'm just saying, if you hit the right button when you're sober, that's how that works. But you have a little bit too much of that 80 proof, and things get a little wonky. But continue. Back to tropes, apparently.
I think I already covered it. Did I?
He did. He did a fabulous job, Jerry.
We're going.
Taking notes.
Skip it.
All right. That means you've got one last question before I get to steal the show and mute you.
You don't steal anything, JR. So,
man.
What subgenres do you feel that this really fits into?
Definitely sci-fi comedy. I mean,
that.
I mean, Spaceballs, Ice Pirates, things like that. That's some of the influence for some of the jokes and stuff like that. Yeah, just sci-fi comedy is the subgenre it should be in, besides space opera, because the grander scheme of things of what's going to happen is definitely space opera.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now let's talk about the story itself. What can you tell us about the main character or characters in this book? What makes them stand out from the crowded field of science fiction?
They're all his friends?
Yeah, they're all my friends. There are way too many to start with, which that's one flaw we are working on edits right now to do some cleanup, but it's kind of hard to clean up that many characters. Everyone on board does serve a purpose. The main character, really the main lead character, is Captain Doug, Captain Douglas Rackham. He keeps this zoo together and running and functioning. Now, like I said, they're an independent mining crew. They go out to the asteroid belt, they mine, they come back, they dump their gear. Anywhere they can make an extra side buck and do a hustle, they do. The three witches, Maggie, Amanda, and Krista, the Earthbound goddess. they've got their little grow lab that they grow things and make extra side cash, and the geek, he does all this technology hacking and selling bootleg software and stuff like that on the side. And they've all got their things. And one of the things I did with taking the people that I know and love, I Tuckerized them, but I took their 1 or 2 top personality quirks and I enhanced it by 10. So Amanda is extremely emotional. Krista is extremely impatient. The geek is overly sensitive, even more than usual, about his technology. But it worked out. Those extremes, they conflicted, but they meshed at the same time.
Okay. So what about secondary characters? Since you had such a large ensemble cast as your main characters, were there secondary characters in this novel?
There are a lot of secondary characters that come in later because once things get moving, and I guess I can go ahead and say something about it since this one's been out for 2 years. Once they get established in this new place, they decide that they want to stay and they want to grow it. So they start looking for more crew. So now you get all these other strange personalities that sign up for crazy missions and they're going to go make some cash, which included a bunch more people that I know that got incorporated into the story. The biggest chaos was probably when they finally met aliens. And it's like, well, shit, okay, cool. It's finally proven. And they're not trying to kill us, so we're good there. And, and one of the fun things about one of the aliens, the Chinchasa that you get to meet on the planet, I had a really hard time trying to come up with them because I wanted to have some kind of alien creature that was going to be part of the crew and interacting with my main characters that people would just fall in love with. And I kept coming back to Taylor Anderson's cats from Destroyer Men. And I finally called him up and it's like, hey, you got any ideas what I could do here? And he was like, well, hell, there's all kinds of alien cat creatures. Just use my cats and change the name. It's like, okay, that sounds good. So I've got the Chinchasas that are bipedal cat creatures that, wear kilts.
So how close are these going to be to the Khajiit?
The Khajiit. I'm not even sure what the Khajiit is.
The cat people in Skyrim?
I've never played Skyrim.
What? Okay.
Oh, no. Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to put you back in your place right now, buddy. I do not. No. I won't play Skyrim. I will never play World of Warcraft. Okay. Remember when Ultima Online originally came out?
I do.
Okay. So me and 2 buddies, we were taking shifts on building a character up when Ultima Online first went up. And we worked on this character for a month and we had joined a guild and everybody was doing this thing to get this guild house. And we got this guild house on this little remote island. And, we had opening day on the island and the guild masters here, like, here's your rune stone and just go out here, transport out. And we'll have the opening ceremonies. And then everybody's there and we're like, yay. Okay. We got a guild house. And the player killers came from the upstairs down and killed everyone and took all their stuff. And if you remember about Ultima Online, you died and went back to your starting origin place, but your stuff stayed there. And if you can't get to your stuff, you can't get to any of it. So the player killers, which happen to be the heads of the clan that we were, the clan that we were in, used all of us to get the guild house and took back all the equipment they had loaned us and killed everyone. I drop kicked my computer off the desk at that point.
Yeah, I could see.
I won't play any MMO. I haven't played Elven Quest. I haven't played World of Warcraft. No. So I got other things to do.
Skyrim is one you can play without joining like the online portion. You can still just play it on your PlayStation or your Xbox as well.
Yeah, but I got other things to do.
I haven't played in ages, but I do know I used to be an adventurer until I took an arrow to the knee. I mean, that was the iconic line from Skyrim. So
I will say, I'm all of those MMOs are way too social for me.
that's fair. You don't like people. All right. So, does your story have a bad guy that these characters confront without obviously giving any spoilers?
Well, I mean, the main bad guy is the environment. I mean, they're just trying to survive, whether before they jump through the flux point or after. They're just trying to survive, eat, make ends meet. The overarching bad guy is going to be the Independent Alliance, which that's basically the corporate controlling entity of Earth. And, there's still countries and main world powers, but they really don't have any power. The Independent Alliance, which formed out of what was left of the UN after the Hell Years, and they're the ones controlling things, telling people you will do this or you'll disappear, we'll unalive you, all that fun stuff.
So is the flux point any relation to the flux capacitor?
No. The flux point is, same reference as in Starflight. Yeah, these different flux points that, it was the opening of a wormhole. So you can go from this point to that point in the galaxy in like no time at all.
Okay.
And the way that I've got it set up, the flux drive, it allows, it forms a field around the ship that allows it to part that thin fabric of time and space and pass through points.
Okay. So Doc likes this question next. So I'm going to let her get all stabby with you and ask the next one.
If your characters met you in a back alley, how would they treat you after you knew what hell you put them through?
Oh, they hate me.
For those listening at home and not
That
watching,
made sense.
What?
That made sense. Why are you?
You don't know what I'm going to say. Hush your mouth, woman. For those listening at home and not watching, as part of his answer, William Joseph Ross.
He has been muted.
For those of you listening at home who aren't watching the screen and don't know what this is about, he grabbed a knife to sort of prove his point.
Yeah, they'd hate me for everything that I did to him.
I never should have given Doc the admin powers. Jeez. This is how coups happen, people. This is how you get a coup.
If you didn't, your mother would have given them to me.
She just brought your mom into it, dude.
She does it all the time. It's totally not fair. She's fired. I fired her a dozen times. I don't know what.
No, what's unfair is how right we are.
All right.
See,
Doc.
my mom prefers JR, but my mom has no clue what we're doing. So yeah, her voice on this one weighs very little.
Fair. All right. So we were talking about characters and not stabbing you anymore. So we've moved on from the stabbing. Doc, try not to let your sorrow overwhelm you. I know you like stabbing people.
I have booze to comfort me.
Okay, well that's acceptable. So instead of stabbing people, we're going to talk about character archetypes. So I don't know how you write. For some people, they plot things out and they think all the thoughts in advance and they get real deep. Other people just write intrinsically. But when you write, do you have a favorite character archetype?
Oh, I like the wounded hero, the broken hero. Just taking characters that have the same flaws that everyone else has, and ramping it up a little bit, or just putting them into a situation where they get broken even more, but they still come out in the end. They still persevere, but they've got to walk through hell to get there.
Okay, so you like to torture them?
Absolutely, just like gaming, because I get to torture all the characters, and I don't collect character sheets. I collect body parts.
So what's your game of choice?
Oh, D&D.
Which edition?
Oh, we play a homebrew mix of second edition and 3.5.
I approve.
Okay.
Yeah, I won't. After all the money that I sunk into second edition, and it's like, oh, hey, look, we got this new edition. Like, okay, so I bought like 2 books, and I won't touch 4 or 5 or any of the rest because no.
Well, they're almost up to 6. Give them a few weeks. So have you tried any of the OSR offshoots with like the Castles and Crusaders or the Swords and Wizardry or any of those?
No, no. We just
Okay.
do basic homebrew, play with kids.
Okay, that's acceptable. Playing with the kids.
You know
Teaches them
what?
empathy or something.
I have an autistic brother, and that was a great way of teaching him social skills.
Math,
Fair.
critical thinking.
Math rocks. Math rocks are good.
Math wasn't a problem. Teaching him social skills was more of a challenge.
All right. So finally, what
Or
can you
any
tell
of
us?
us.
Some of you are still learning, Doc. So finally, what can you tell us about the universe? In miniseries, the worlds where the story takes place are as much a character as the protagonist or antagonist. So can you give us a hint of what we can expect in the world of Flux Runners?
Exploration and discovery. I mean, there is a lot of life out there that mankind has no idea about, and they're going to be stumbling across it in their dysfunctional way. Wait.
Speaking of dysfunctional,
That was perfect.
continue. Dysfunction.
No, but all the discovery of all these different races and stuff, and really something I can't mention without giving a lot away. Think Battlestar. How's that?
Okay. So right now we know that Flux Runner, it looks to be, if you go to the Amazon page, like it's a standalone novel. You have mentioned that there's a second book coming. And
It's in Word now.
if we look at your Amazon author page, we also see a short story set in the Flux Capacitor universe. So what else can we expect from this from these characters in this universe?
Let's see. Actually, you got two. There's two short stories in this setting of the universe. There's one more. Crap, I can't remember the name of it. That's actually set like 100 years back. Yeah, about 100 years back. Chaos, hijinks. I mean, at the worst, think like Scooby-Doo type hijinks sometimes, which, you get into Poker Face and Closet Cases, the two short stories up there, Trey and Fergus, they get into a lot of trouble.
Okay. All right. So speaking of trouble, Doc, the next question is yours. See what I did there? Yeah? Yeah? You taking notes?
You're so cute and special. Bark, bark, huh? Okay. So every universe has its own internally consistent rules of science, technology, or magic when we're talking fantasy. But what kind of tech can we experience from these books?
We do have grab plating, anti-gravity. We got the flux drive. There's not really warp drive or anything. Well, there is. Take that back. There's warp drive. There's pretty much think of any kind of propulsion system in any sci-fi, and it does exist in this universe because the different races came up with different ways of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You got singularity drives and things like that too within the universe. No nanotech really. I mean, there's a little, but not so much. There are universal translators to a point that are implants, and you get to see a couple of the characters dealing with that, thinking they got low jacked. It's a conglomeration of a lot. It really is. I keep telling people that I had to write this one to get all of this kind of stuff out of my system so I could write something a little more serious. And, really, I pay homage to all of these different fandoms that I love. I mean, Star Trek, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, Firefly. You just go down the list of all the different things. And there's one scene, if you pay attention, you're going to recognize a lot of stuff because of the way it's described. And anyone that's a ship nerd, they're going to get some fan service with that.
So, given that you are a nerd with the techie stuff, have you outlined a schematic for your ship yet that you share around?
Uh-huh. And actually, I think I got it up on the site. It's in the book as soon as I can find the page. And there's the Betty.
Oh, that is awesome. Did you beat the Enterprise and put a bathroom in there?
Well, yeah, they got to have heads. And then the second one. There's the Veronica.
Where's the Archie?
There is no Archie, but there is an Ethel.
Okay. All right. Doc, you going to be able to contain yourself to ask the next question? You going to be okay?
So, of all the tech you invented for your universe, which one is the one you would want for daily use?
Oh, the Brown Sound gun. Easy. Yeah.
And how would you abuse it?
Do I really need to answer that one? I mean, come on, that one's kind of self-explanatory. It's a Brown Sound gun. I'm going out in the public like, meh. I just watch the chaos, man.
Chaos is our friend. I like it. All right.
Walk into the office, into the cubicle farming. Meh.
So you already mentioned that you have. Wait, what does the Brown Sound gun do?
Well, do you know what the
it's a fart gun?
Do you know what the Brown Sound is?
Let's pretend I don't.
Okay, it's another reference. Okay, so that one's actually a South Park reference. The Brown Sound is a particular tone that when you hit the right frequency, it'll cause you to shit yourself.
Okay.
So it's a gun that emits a high frequency pulse that will cause the recipients of the pulse to go, and they're just kind of all over themselves at that point.
Are you going to survive, Doc?
I will be fine.
Okay.
So
I told you, chaos.
Yep. Now you've already told us you have aliens in your universe, but how did you go about creating these aliens? Were they like necessity driven? Bad MRE experiences? Too much South Park?
I really wanted to have aliens, and I wanted to have a range of aliens. I didn't want to just have standard bipedal. Look, it's the next alien of the week on Star Trek, and they just changed the position of the ridges. Like, no, we're going to have weird stuff. With a lot of different limitations. Like I've got one fish alien that actually has to have the containment unit, with fluid, otherwise they die. And when you start tossing that in there, it's a lot more fun because you can throw weird things in there. In the Poker Face short story, they've brought all this different stuff for trade items, and they're trying to set up these trade routes with these aliens. So it's like, hey, well, try this. Here's some sweet tea, and here's chocolate, and they just start going down this line trying these different things. And I think it was like Mountain Dew or Whip It or something like that. And this alien chick, she's just done. She is so high as a kite. She starts singing, and it's like, I love you, because something on there got her high as a kite. And they're like, we need to go.
Okay. All right. So, what drugs was it? Did you figure that out, Mr. Squirrel?
No.
Okay. I'm just wondering if you've got, you're from the holler, so I just wonder what you got going on in the back still. Wait, we can't talk about that on air, can we? All right, we'll talk later.
It's how about the chickens.
Right. So clearly this interview is winding down, but before we wrap it up, was there anything about Flux Runners that we didn't ask that you want to tell us?
Now, if you just want to read something fun, funny, little rude and crude around the corners and the edges, pick it up, try it out. book 2 will be coming this year. I hope to have book 3 shortly after that because it depends on if I get on that roll, and I'll just keep on cranking.
Okay. So before we let you go, dear listener, we'd like to remind you to please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right books. So if you bought this book on Amazon, go review it on Amazon. If you bought it on Barnes & Noble, go review it there. There's also Goodreads and BookBub. Throw everywhere you could think of, throw a review. Your authors will love you for it. And if they won't let you review of any of those places because, I don't know, they're like heathen heretical pineapple eaters or something, start a website and write your own blogs where you review books there. And who knows, maybe even authors will send you free books just to read what you think about them. But yeah, so do the book review thing, people. Doc, why are you rolling your eyes at me again?
JR, nobody's going to talk about you.
It could happen. They'll be like,
sure, there are a bunch of people who are like, Cisca's mean and abusive.
Wait, you were in Area 51, wasn't you?
Yeah.
I was.
Well, everybody talks about, the doorstop.
Yeah. I'm still paying for that one. I still maintain if the FBI hadn't have shut that down, we would have been making gangbusters. I'm just saying the FBI was the giant cock block on that one. No sense of humor.
Wait, the FBI actually shut you down on that one?
No. They shut down the operation that was storming Area 51.
All
of the press dropped off.
Gotcha.
So, and I was timing this to launch on the day the Area 51 Lollapalooza Wanna event was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And obviously it didn't, so sales were like hit rock bottom. But it was a lot of really good stories in there. So I'm still proud of the work we put together. Including one by Doc herself. So if you wanna go check that out, I'll do that.
Lots of people died. It was lots of fun.
I'm just saying, Doc and I had a talk, and it ended up with me suggesting she go to therapy after I read some of what she wrote. But anyway,
I was in therapy.
Oh my God, I don't know if that made it worse or better then. But so we don't scare the listeners off. William Joseph Roberts, his publishing name, Hillbilly to his friends. How can listeners find you?
You can find me over at williamjosephroberts.com. I am on pretty much every social media platform there is right now. Either that or look me up over on threeravenspublishing.com.
Okay, we will list all of those links in the show notes, and by all of them I mean all of them, everywhere that's fit to print. At least that's what they tell me. And you can find us, dear listener, over on Twitter at twitter.com/SF_fantasy_show, Sierra Foxtrot _fantasy_show. You can email the show at blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. You can send all hate mail to Cisca at blastersandbladespodcast.com. If somebody actually has that email, that person is getting all the bad messages. So you can join us on Facebook where all the shenanigans happen at facebook.com/groups/Blasters and Blades podcast. Again, /groups/Blasters and Blades podcast. When we share the episodes, you can comment on it, start a discussion, share heretical pictures of pizza like Doc likes to do, where they pervert them with pineapples. Whatever you do.
Ew.
Oh, that's even worse. That's not going to unite the pineapple versus the non-pineapple against the people that put the marshmallows and peeps on.
Whatever, JR. You wanted to try the chicken and waffles pizza.
I did not. That's heresy. That looked like vomit on a plate.
That's not what you told me.
Doc's been hitting the sauce again. She's remembering things wrong. You can join us on our website at anchor.fm/blasters-and-blades, anchor.fm/blasters-and-blades. I promise you, we do have a real proper grown-up website in the works. It'll happen eventually, maybe season 12. Don't hold your breath. But you can also support us over there at Blasters and Blades, anchor.fm/blasters-and-blades, or blasters-and-blades. Wow, I've done this before, I promise. Or you can support us at buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Be sure to put in the comment section that it is for the podcast, and I promise I will keep my co-hosts, Doc Cisca and Nick Garber, duly intoxicated. They will drink until their liver surrenders.
Never surrender.
There we go. All right, bring us home, Doc. Wait a minute. How do you feel about pineapple on pizza? We should have asked you earlier, William.
Oh, God, no. What the hell is it?
All right. You passed the test.
Oh, the list is long and held by the VA of what's wrong with JR.
No, full meat pizza with jalapenos.
Actually, I
Add
think
some
the VA
mushrooms.
may be part of what's wrong with JR.
Possible. So add some mushrooms on that, and I'm all about it.
Yeah, that way he has a vegetable. So thank you for spending some of your precious time with us.
Your vegetables.
Thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. For the absentee, as usual, Nick Garber. He's drawing me a comic, I'm sure. JR Handley, I'm Cisca. This was the Blasters and Players podcast. We'll be back next week, same time. We'll indulge your love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, torching JR, all things that go boom, and of course, mead.
Meat
So
is
say
good.
we all.